They look at me and see only the mask. The Azakana have spread like a plague since the Noxian invasion. My work never ends. Before, I chased a wayward gale. Now I hunt a storm of darkness.
Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Today I'll show you how to play Yone. Skill sequence is the standard Q max followed by E and W, and then remember to put points into your ultimate whenever possible, as this is your best all-in ability. Yone's passive gives him a 2.5 multiplier on crit chance, so that means that when he has 2 finished crit items, then he has 100% crit. But his crits will deal a little bit less damage though. And then the second part of his passive will make it so every second auto attack will deal 50% physical and 50% magic damage. So it is a champion that has a lot of mixed damage in his kit, so it's very hard to counter him with armor or magic resistance items, so it makes him a very good champion to pick. Now level 1, you want to be starting with your Q, so that is like your main low cooldown damaging ability. Every single time you hit something with it, then you get some stacks, and then once you have 2 stacks, then your next Q will make Yone dash and also knock up. When you play against melee champions, if they step up, then of course you can use that Q to poke them. Remember that the first target you hit with your Q, it counts as a single target damage, but anyone you hit behind the first target will make it count as AoE damage. And of course level 2 you can start either with your E or your W. I like to start with my W level 2, and then at level 3 I start with my E. W of course is a shield you get when you hit enemies with it. And the damage scales off of the enemy's maximum HP, so it becomes useful later on as people get more HP. But the thing is guys, your Q and W, the cooldown and the cast time scales with attack speed. So when you build more attack speed, you will be lowering the cooldown on those abilities. So that's why attack speed is so important. And your E guys is like a mini set ultimate in that it is going to store some of the damage you are dealing while you are in that E form, and then once you E out again, then that damage will be dealt. So that's like your bursting ability. You really want to make sure that you want the maximum amount of damage on a champion, then you want to be using that E at the start so it can store as much damage as possible that you can pop afterwards. Another really important thing you need to know about the E is the fact that it works as a cleanse. So you can use that to cancel out CC as well, because what happens is that you press E and go into that spirit form, and then once you recast your E, then you're going to cleanse any CC, so you're pretty much unstoppable while you're going back to your main body. So you can use that to cancel out a lot of CC with. But there are some cases where it doesn't work. For example, if you are in Mordekaiser's ultimate, it actually worked at the start when Yone was released, but it was patched afterwards. Same goes for Camille's ultimate, it doesn't cleanse that either. But you know, like basic abilities like stuns roots and so on that will be cleansed. So there's also another really high skill ability that you can master, and of course use that to play Yone perfectly with. Because it's so annoying to play against the Karina, because all they do is just AFK roam. They ignore the wave completely, but it's fine. She's not getting anything topside, so you can just hit back mid. When you trade with Yone, guys, it's very important that you want to be hitting the enemy as much as possible while you're in that spirit form. So what a lot of people like to do is that you get full stacks on your Q, so the knock up is ready, and that's when you engage with your E, get the knock up, and then you auto tag as much as possible before you pop out. But if the opponent has some kind of hard CC, then what you can do is that you start with E, go in with the third Q, the one that will knock up, then you quickly burst them down with a W and an auto tag, and then you just E out. That way there's no counterplay to them at all. Conqueror, guys, Keystone on Yone, you have Conqueror or you have Fleet Footwork. You can use Conqueror in matchups that you can manage, matchups that aren't that hard to play. For example, Karina is pretty, it's like even matchup. You can definitely win it though if she plays it perfectly, because she's very mobile. Yone doesn't really have any reliable escape, so it's a skill matchup, I would like to say. But into matchups like these you can go for Conqueror, but if you're playing against something very difficult like AD Assassins mid, like a Zed or a Kiana, Talon and so on, then you can go for the Fleet Footwork with the Resolve secondary. That's going to give you the easiest lane possible, and then of course you also start with the Lauren's Shield. Now the way you use your ultimate probably, guys, it has a lot of mixed damage, like your W as well. It's a skill shot, so it's very hard to hit if the opponent sees it in advance, so you want to be combining that with your third Q if possible, so you get the knockoff from a Q, and then follow up with your ultimate for a guaranteed hit. That's a very good way of guaranteeing that the opponent doesn't dash away or something. And the way your ultimate works is that if you hit multiple people, then it's going to drag the first target into the last one you hit. So you will all basically teleport behind the last target you hit. So it can be very good for grouping multiple people into one spot, so your allies can follow up with AoE damage or a CC or whatever they have. So Yone is also very good in teamfights. Now when this champion spikes, guys, the first core item is the Berserkers. As I said earlier on, your Q and W scales off of attack speed, so when you get more attack speed, the cooldown of those abilities and the cast time will be lowered as well. That's why Berserker's Greaves is such an important core item that you should be aiming to get as your first purchase every game. But when you have the Berserkers, then that's a small power spike, because your abilities become a lot smoother to use. It doesn't feel awkward anymore with that Q and W cast time, so that's usually when you can start playing a bit more aggressive. And then the second big power spike is when you finish your first mythic item. So right now Shield Bow is still the best all around mythic item on Yone. You can also use the other two. It's very preference based, but the best one, in my opinion, and a lot of high challenger Yone players, is that shield bow is the number one because it gives him everything he's missing. He already has a lot of damage, his problem is survivability, so you get a lot of sustain from that shield bow as well. And you also get that defensive shield. So it's going to help a lot, especially when you play against assassins, because that shield will counter their burst damage, so you can survive and fight back. So I use that spirit form just for safety, so in case I got ganked, then I can just T out. But we got that tower plate here, so we have a lot of gold, so we also need to base. Of course, the build path towards the shield bow is also really good because you get the Vamp Scepter, so if you're playing on lane where you'll get poked down a lot, then you can of course build that without delaying any of your core items. The build pass is super good and the item itself is also really good on Yone. I still think the item is really OP. And even after the nerfs in patch 11.6, then this is still the best item, it's still really good. Because they just made it so when that shield procs at low HP, then instead of getting a lot of lifesteal, you get more AD now. This is really good because Yone of course builds 100% crit chance. So you get more AD than other champions. Of course, remember that it doesn't really matter if you overcap on crit chance, because what happens when you overcap on crit chance is that anything that goes past 100% crit chance will get converted into bonus AD. That's another part of his passive, so something they added this season, and it's really important because now you don't have to worry about having too much crit anymore. The stats won't be wasted and it also allows you to scale a bit better. Just gonna AFK push here, guys. We are winning this lane super hard, so when Yone said it's very hard to stop him, he's very good in 1 vs 1s, has a lot of burst. So what I like to do is that if I shove in the way and I have nothing else to do, then I walk into the enemy jungle, try to take away his camps, or I can look for roams. And then it's a pretty free kill here if you hit everything, because you have a lot of burst at this point. You need to make sure that you hit your ultimate, so what you can do is that you can try to combine it with your Q. Kennen is very mobile, guys. Mobile because of his C. But you can see if you hit everything on Yone, then that's a pretty free kill. Now since this is a high diamond game, then our top laner knows that he has to go mid instead of coming top, so you will not be sharing the XP and gold, but in lower elos your top laner must still be pathing towards top side. If they do that, then just leave the lane and go back mid. Right, he gave us the red buff, so that's really nice. Just focus on taking away as much gold as possible from the enemy team, so we set them super far behind and make it really hard for them to come back into the game. I actually think Karina was watching her teammates, because I just suddenly appeared from out of vision, so she didn't see me until it was too late. But yeah, this stuff even happens sometimes in high elo. As I said earlier, this is a high diamond game and it even happens here, so. We definitely need to base soon as well. I'm sitting on almost 4k gold, so get the first mythic item, the shield bow. That is the one I'm building like 95% of the time when I'm playing Yone, because it is just good into everything. Even if you're playing against tanks, because if you play against tanks then you can just get the Lord Dominic's, which is the armor pin item from for the 80 carries. Get the shield bow. I'm gonna go ahead and probably sell the Doran's blade here just so we can get the Infinity Edge. So this is the biggest early game power spike you can have, because you have 100% crit chance because of your passive. And you're just gonna one-shot everyone now because you have so much damage from the Infinity Edge as well. You have a lot of attack speed, so you can lower the cooldown on your Q and your W. So if there's a point in the game where you have to start carrying the game, then it is right now, when you have your core items. Core items means that these items you'll be purchasing every single game, guys. Just gonna shred everyone, especially because Yone has a lot of hybrid damage, he has magic damage and physical damage, so it's very hard to counterpick him. So even if they're stacking full armor at this point, you will not be countered as hard as something else like the ADCs or a Yasuo, for example. The majority of your damage is still physical, but you also have a lot of magic damage as well. Just focus down the objectives, that's like the fastest way to end here. Going to the bottom side, you want to be in the side lane if possible after the laning phase. Because Yone is he's a pretty good split pusher actually, because he's very strong in 1 vs 1s. He's good at taking down towers as well, because you build a lot of attack speed and AD, so you have high numbers that you can use to take down objectives really fast. Just went YOLO here, should not have done that. I actually thought that it was only Senna and Leona, that's why I went in, because that would have been an easy 1 vs 2, but I kind of ran it down here. Sometimes it is good to limit test though, because you really learn about the limits of your champion. If this worked out, then I would know for next time that my champion is capable of doing this. So even if you end up dying a lot of times and make mistakes like I did earlier, then it can be good for the long term. Because you learn what your champion, you learn about your champion's limits. You're just kind of YOLOing right now. Galio's dead, so he should just leave him. But yeah, continue being the silent if possible. You just want to get yourself super far ahead. The thing is, you can also push out waves really fast. It's very easy to push out waves because you have so much AD and you crit as well. You're just gonna one shot the waves, so focus on pushing those out. You don't have to be split pushing, but you always want to be picking up waves from the side lanes. Just gonna stand the side lane and pick up the tower here, while my teammates hopefully take down the Herald. Okay, they are not. Okay, they got flanked by a cannon, that's unfortunate. Wow, that is a lot more damage from Senna than I expected. I almost getting one shot. I lost like almost half my HP from meter for auto attacks, and that is because she has the, I think, Kraken Slayer, and she probably has a lot of stacks on the passive as well. Yeah, I kind of ran it down right there as a mistake, but we did get the tower though. Only bad thing is that I'm giving away huge shutdowns. But this is one of Yone's main weaknesses, is that he's so squishy. And if you just get poked down like this, then you can't do anything because you'll be out of range to auto attack the enemy champion, so you'll not be able to lifesteal. This is what you have to be careful about. He doesn't have any reliable escapes, so if you get caught out, then you're most likely dead. We just have to play around the objectives, so they are getting the Herald. Probably getting that, hopefully getting that before it expires. Have to be careful though, because they have a lot of burst damage. They have the Cannon, they have Rengar, and they have Senna as well. It basically has burst damage on our auto attacks for some reason, but have to respect that and don't run it down anymore. We already entered enough this game, so we just have to chill out. Rengar is topside because we are winning, so they will not be able to contest anything. We can just 5 versus 5 if they come. Should be able to secure the other dragon here, and Cannon should be dead as well. This is why shield bow is so nice, because it actually saved me from dying to his burst damage. That shield is really useful. And if you're playing against assassins, then you definitely want to make sure that you have this shield bow. Alright, so we can just go ahead and recall here. So the next Drake will be the Soul. And that is the OP one that gives a lot of sustain, so if possible you want to be trying to play around that, especially when we have the lead, because then we have prio around the objectives. So we should be able to secure that, but now we have the Bloodthirster. So now is another big power spike, because we have even more lifesteal. The thing is, guys, you can also build this before the Infinity Edge if you want to. It is not necessary to build it that early unless you're planning to trade a lot and abuse the sustain, but this is a massive 4-item power spike. Bloodthirster gives you so much sustain, and you also get that shield when you sustain, when you already have full HP and you lifesteal, so you get that overheal shield. Combine that shield with that shield bow defensive mechanic, then you suddenly become very tanky, even though you're only itemizing offensive. So you become kind of this drain tank that's very hard to burst down and very hard to fight against as well. Just go for the end here. They should not be able to defend anymore. We are super far ahead. And this is what a high elo game looks like. It is very snowbally this season, so if one team snowballs, then it usually just ends from there. But that was the Yone guide, so I hope this was helpful, and as always, see you guys in the next video.